everybody, this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And if you want to get your money's worth, stay right here because you're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts. And remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
This is Don West here, and I'm telling you, Knockouts and 3 Counts is the podcast, baby. Make sure that's the one you check out, because, buddy, like me, they're the real deal, baby.
This is Jake the Snake Roberts. Just letting you know, you need to listen to Knockouts and 3 Counts, or you'll see that damn snake again.
This is the Ring of Honor World Television Champion, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy. And you're listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts.
What up, though, everybody? This is Kyle, and you are listening to Knockouts and 3 Counts. And as you can see, I'm not solo here tonight in the studio. You've got Mathew Priest from BCWA. How you doing, brother man? Let them know where they can find you.
Outstanding here. It's an honor to be back here with Knockouts and 3 Counts. Always a pleasure.
Likewise, my friend. So, as we've told you in our promo for this show, there's a big show going down this weekend. You've got BCWA Got Your Six this Saturday, Wyandotte, Michigan, Copeland Center on 4th Street. So, as we go into this show, what specifically are you looking forward to? Because there's been a lot of big changes in BCWA with some of its biggest stars lately.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the match, of course, I'm looking forward to is the main event. I mean, coming removed from Cataclysm, the biggest show of the year, coming off a 30-minute main event matchup there with Justin Maine reclaiming his BCWA championship, defeating Orlando Christopher, and maybe one of the best matches I've ever seen in a match that I'm so honored to have been a part of. But he's defending that championship against former guest here of your guys' show, and by far the number one contender, the Fro Gun, D-Ray 3000, and that should be one hell of a matchup there. And you have to wonder, we're only 3 weeks removed from Cataclysm, and Justin Maine had that major back injury back in March, had a hard time coming back from it. He's back. Christopher just took him 30 minutes to his limit. How is that back going to hold up on a quick 3-week turnaround with a Fro Gun who's healthy and ready to go in his prime shape, looking to take that championship? That's the match I'm most looking forward to.
So tell me about that. So we saw a big change from Justin Maine. You know, if you listen to the last time he was here on the show with us, you know, he was, you know, the clean cut, you know, your classic baby face, all that kind of stuff. And then clearly he's been listening to the show, because what did he do? He kicked him in the dick. He's been listening. So first of all, what are your thoughts on the attitude change we've seen here from Justin Maine? And do you think that that's the thing that he needed to put him over the top to get him to the title?
See, I don't look at it as an attitude change at all. I mean, I was refereeing that match. I was right in there with both those guys. I got to see it firsthand on what was happening and what took place. It's the BCWA championship. It's the championship that drives these competitors. It makes them want to be the top and the pinnacle of the organization. Justin Maine, he fought for 11 years to get that championship. He finally got it. He never lost it. It was taken from him due to an injury. He had to forfeit that championship. So here he is in the middle of a match, 25, 30 minutes deep, fighting his ass off, giving everything he's got to Orlando Christopher. Christopher keeps kicking out because the championship means just as much to Orlando Christopher. The pride that it takes to be the champion of BCWA, both these guys are putting it on the line. They're exemplifying it. Orlando Christopher, Justin Maine had nothing left in his arsenal. He was out of arrows, if you will, in the quiver. And finally, you know, you say, kicked him in the dick. I didn't see it. Didn't matter if I did, because I said on disqualification or 3 count or just count out. I'm sorry, but he kicked him in the dick, as you said, hit him with another JMKO, and that was enough to put him away and reclaim the BCWA championship. And as the guy who's the legacy of BCWA and the caretaker, I have nothing but respect for Justin Maine for what he did. I don't see it as an attitude change. I see it as more of an obsession.
I can totally respect that. So with that being said, since you said this is the match you're looking forward to, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Absolutely.
Who's going to win?
On the spot. See, get a little bit deeper into it here with Justin Maine. like I said, 3 weeks removed, coming off this back injury, he's reclaimed the championship. He's proven that he'll do whatever it takes to keep the championship. Now, if Justin Maine gets into a desperate situation with Frogun, I think he's going to walk out with the belt. That doesn't mean he's going to win the match. I could see him kicking him in the dick again, getting himself disqualified. Technically, Frogun wins the match. Justin Maine keeps the belt. I could see a situation like that because that wouldn't surprise me. Seeing the desperation that Justin Maine's going to do to take the belt, and Frogun's no pushover. No, Frogun wants that championship just as bad as anybody. The battle for a champion in November came down to these two men. They were the last two in the ring fighting for that opportunity to face Orlando Christopher at Cataclysm. So Frogun wants it just as bad. He's had his opportunity. He knows what it's like to be in that ring in a main event of BCWA in the Cope with the people in that noise environment and thrive. So Frogun's been there once. He's back in the main event. He's coming for that belt. He wants it just as bad. But I have to say the desperation that Justin Maine's going to go through to keep his belt, I think Justin Maine's going to walk out of Got Your Six, still BCWA champion. I'm not going to say he wins the match, though.
Like I said, I mean, that match is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. As we've talked about multiple times on the show, I mean, Frogun's become a good friend of the show, and I definitely think that he's going to pose some different challenges to Justin Maine in that to me, it's a completely different match than what we saw with Orlando Christopher.
Absolutely.
Because with Orlando Christopher, you never know if you're going to get the crazy stuff. You don't know if you're going to get the technical wrestling side. But with a guy like Frogun, you really don't know what you're going to get with him because he can really go either way. Good guy, bad guy, however you want to play it, whatever it takes to get the job done. And on top of that, he's got the wealth of experience that comes with it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that match is definitely one that I'm looking forward to. Another one that is going to be on the card, we talked to Elk at the last BCWA show, and from what I see, him and Asmodeus are going to run it back. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on how that match played out at Cataclysm?
Oh, you got the time-traveling caveman, Elk, a good personal, close friend of mine that I'm happy to see in BCWA getting his opportunities there. And then you have the Lord Asmodeus, who's a lot of question marks surrounding this guy. He's dark, he's mysterious, he's tough to talk to. But I think with Asmodeus, he's proven that he's bad attitude. He's going to go in the ring. He's going to do what he wants, when he wants. He's been nothing but disrespectful every time he's been front of the crowd, whether it be to his opponents, whether it be to the ring announcer, to the fans. He's just a bad egg, and Elk is the polar opposite. This is your classic good guy versus bad guy a matchup, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be biased here and go with Elk. However, Asmodeus, the guy's in tremendous physical condition. He's got a few screws loose. He's very dark, and he's proven he'll go at all costs to hurt or maim his opponent. But I'll have to go with Elk getting the 3 count here. Good always prevails over evil, right?
Not in the presidential race. Just kidding.
We don't need to go there.
I know. I had to. But that being said, man, this one's going to be interesting for me because I haven't seen Asmodeus before we got to BCWA. I've seen Elk. Hell, I've seen Elk since I was in high school, and then he happens to be related to a good friend of mine. So I've seen Elk for quite a long time. With the way he was talking in the interview that we did with him here at BCWA Cataclysm, I would say that Elk seems primed and ready for another shot at Asmodeus. And if he's not on top of his game, I think Elk could be the person that we're going to see take that one. So if I got to choose one, I'm going to go with Elk on this one. That being said, tell me what your thoughts are on the integration now of the House of Truth. Okay, so you've got Movado, who anybody that pays attention to his social media, you know that he's one of the trainers there and has a long-standing relationship with Truth Martini. And as you saw at BCWA Cataclysm, Truth kind of took things to another level.
Yeah,
knocked Bubba's bell, rang Bubba's bell on that one, and with the Book of Truth. And so tell me what your thoughts are on them coming into BCWA, what you see from them. And Gracefully Chosen's got another match here at BCWA this month too, don't they?
Absolutely. It's kind of we'll get 2 birds stoned at once here with this one. So go to the Movado side of things. So Movado being the Bumpin' Uglies reunion and 2 of his students, Gracefully Chosen, they attacked the Bumpin' Uglies after their big reunited reunion matchup there. Feel good moment for the fans. And then these 2 kids fresh out of training. I mean, they're 3-4 months removed from Movado being one of their trainers, but Truth Martini, the opportunist that he is, sees this as an opportunity for these two young guys, Adonis and Shaman, these two kids, and they see their opportunity. And it may, I don't know how the backstory goes there. I'm speculating here, assuming they went to Truth Martini and they said, how do we make an impact? How do we get our name out there as soon as possible? We don't want to go and pay our dues like most of these other students do. And Truth Martini said, why don't you attack Movado and Bubba on a Bump and Ugly? That's how you make your name. And they made the name for themselves. They made a statement that night, and then they pulled off the victory against the Bump and Uglies at Cataclysm. And Truth Martini's there. He's guiding Gracefully Chosen's career. He's helping these kids out along the way because they are very inexperienced. But when you take Truth Martini, you take his knowledge, his experience, his he was a hell of a wrestler when he did compete, but this guy was voted Ring of Honor Manager of the Decade. He's no slouch when it comes to managing talent, so he automatically elevates Gracefully Chosen to another level. They assault Movado. Movado now has a chip on his shoulder because he doesn't know these are his students, and if anybody out there who's ever taught students or even mentored somebody in the workplace and you take that seriously, when you get stabbed in the back by that person turns on you, rats you out, whatever, like that sucks. That feeling is one of the worst feelings of your life. So I feel for a guy like Movado who has given his time, his energy, his efforts to helping these kids learn the craft of professional wrestling, get out there, and then just to get stabbed in the back by them so they can make a name off of Movado. I'm sure deep down he respects it, and at Cataclysm he kind of said, hey, that's what the Bump and Uglies would have did, and he offered that respect only to get attacked more, and they have Tanner Nix from the House of Truth come out and join in on the assault. And they were taking it to a whole nother level where they were just truly trying to disrespect Movado. Because, again, Truth Martini knows if you disrespect a veteran and a well-respected man like Movado, that's how you make your name for yourself. That's how Gracefully Chosen and Tanner Nix are going to make a name for themselves. They're going to get themselves more bookings. With more bookings comes more opportunities. With more opportunities becomes more money. With more money becomes more fame. That's the fastest way to the pay window, if you will, for these three kids. And, Movado has every right to be pissed and hurt, and, it's like his kids turning on him.
So before I get to my next question and give you my thoughts on the turmoil within the House of Truth, if you're looking for a house that's built on truth, you got the boys from Stransky & Company Realty. Stransky & Company Realty is the top producing real estate team that specializes in individual strategy, over-the-top service, and continued success for their clients. They're the real estate easy button. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest, call them at 248-563-9449 or email them at admin@stranskyandcompany.com. Follow them on Instagram and Facebook at stranskyandcompany.com. Look, we plug these guys every week, and it's not a joke. I'm telling you, all you got to do, go look at their Instagram, go look at their Facebook, look at the houses that these guys are putting out, and they're quality people, man. They're not going to dick you around on prices and try to highball you and all that stuff. So if you're looking to build your own House of Truth, go see the guys at Stransky & Company. Shout out to the homie Matt Stransky. That being said, my question to you is, can you explain a little bit to those who maybe aren't familiar with Truth Martini what the allure is and why Gracefully Chosen would want to turn on their coach like that? As you mentioned a little bit, he's the manager of the year for Ring of Honor. Or manager of the decade for Ring of Honor. There's a reason for that. But I feel like a lot of today's younger fans, because Truth's kind of been out of the indie scene kind of sort of, other than the House of the Truth for a little while, maybe they might not know as much about him. Now, when I first started going to the indies around the area, I saw Truth everywhere I went. So I full well know what Truth Martini brings to the table. So for those who don't know, let them know, what is the big allure when it comes to Truth Martini?
I think Truth Martini is one of the smartest men, not just in the state of Michigan and locally, but one of the smartest men to ever lace up a pair of boots, ever walk through a curtain. He's extremely cerebral, extremely intelligent, and he understands how human emotions work and how to play into people. And as what made him manager of the decade is, he's smart, but he understands how to strategize for an opponent, find their weakness, and then manipulate that and direct his talent that he's guiding to get there. But as a performer, as a wrestler, even before that, he would do the exact same thing. He's a master strategist. I mean, if anybody's seen him wrestle, I mean, this is a guy who probably was a few years ahead of his time. I mean, small guys his size in the late 90s and early 2000s, just it was so hard to make a name for yourself as a wrestler. This is a guy who...
It was still the land of the giants.
Absolutely. This was a guy who WWE had on their radar. They were giving him tryouts. They were intrigued by him. He's wrestling Eddie Guerrero on SmackDown, and he's getting these opportunities that small guys weren't getting. And that's just how good and how smart he was. And then, he had a career-ending injury, unfortunately for him, and he turned it to training, and fortunately he was able to turn it to managing and get the opportunities with Ring of Honor that he got. But for him now to be grooming these students, I mean, you look at just 90% of every show in Michigan, those students are trained by Truth Martini. I mean, the guy's outstanding. He has wrestlers right now in every major company going, and there's a reason for that. He's one of the best trainers on the planet, and outside of his training ability, a lot of that is understanding how to promote his talent and move him on. And I believe he is. I don't know if he's the guy who told Gracefully Chosen to do it. Again, I'm speculating. I would assume Gracefully Chosen went to Truth and said, "How do we do this?" And Truth Martini said, "Hey, you want to make an impact? This is what you do." Tanner Nix, a kid out of the same class, friends with Gracefully Chosen, sees that, says, "What the hell am I doing? How do I fast track myself? I'll attack Movado too. I'll stick up for my boys." Because when you train together, you have MMA experience. You train together; those are your brothers, and it's a totally different aspect. And
I mean, and it's a bond that you can't really explain. When you put in that work with somebody, whether it's MMA, boxing, wrestling, I would assume wrestling's the same because I haven't done pro wrestling. But I mean, I know when you train with people, there's a reason they call them teams. You know, even though it may be just you in a cage or just you in a ring, nobody really gets there without having a team. And speaking of MMA, we'll get into that a little bit later. You got UFC 246 this weekend. You got the huge fight between Cowboy Cerrone and Conor McGregor. We're both going to give our thoughts on who we think is going to win and give our picks. That being said, it's funny we're talking about Gracefully Chosen because they're watching right now.
Okay.
And so with that being said, that leads me into my next question for you. So we saw Studio 86 come out victorious at Cataclysm. Okay, so where do you see the tag team division in BCWA going next? Do you think we've seen the last of Studio 86 versus H3RD? And do you see Gracefully Chosen trying to take a crack at them?
I don't think we've seen the last of Studio 86 and H3RD at all. But I mean, Gracefully Chosen's got a championship match this Saturday. I mean, it's signed, sealed, delivered, and we were gonna talking about that. You have Truth Martini representing Gracefully Chosen. Yeah, they only have a handful of months of experience versus two guys like Studio 86, both over a decade in. They've been doing this a long time. They have Mike Blackwell in their corner. Is he able to combat Truth Martini? We'll find out. And Studio 86 just winning the belts, but they're coming off of a wild 9-month, highly emotional, highly volatile feud and rivalry with H3RD, and that's all they've focused on, and how to beat H3RD. It wasn't even so much about winning the championship; it was beating H3RD. It was staying together and united as Studio 86. And I have to wonder if that type of emotion, all of that focus and energy into just defeating H3RD, keeping united, takes their eyes off of up-and-coming team like Gracefully Chosen. They may take them for granted. And, hey, I know Maserati, Rick, and Bill Martell better than just about anybody on this planet. And they're not going to take anybody lightly. But I got my upset alert going for this one. And I really would not be shocked at all if Gracefully Chosen with Truth Martini and the rest of the House of Truth, and you have to take that into consideration, catches Studio 86 napping, catches them on an off week. It's a definite. I mean, for those football fans out there, this is your trap game. This is your total Cinderella story upset, and it's there. It's all the makings are for an upset.
You mentioned the upset alert with them, and it definitely makes things interesting because when you add the fact that, as we've mentioned, you got Truth Martini on the outside, I mean, that's another thing that you got to look forward to. And that match, to me, is one of the ones that I'm most intrigued to see what happens, for the fact that Studio 86 has been so entrenched in their war with H3RD. Are they going to be able to turn their attention, fully on Gracefully Chosen, as it should be right now? Because, as you said, they're not only, young and hungry. You've got somebody who's wise, ring savvy. He's got the mind. I mean, and even if he's not the one in the ring, he's like the one moving the chess pieces.
Absolutely.
So,
And Blackwell's a hell of a chess player himself, though, and he's going to have Studio 86 going. That you have to think of, big old Shorty out there as well, and the element of surprise that Studio 86 has. But this all started. I mean, Gracefully Chosen had almost a grassroots online campaign to help get this title shot going. They started barking. They ran their mouth, and they got their match. So good for them on that. That is the only thing that I think is in Studio 86's favor is now they have bulletin board material. They have motivation to go out there and show these kids some respect, but they still could be caught napping. And going back to your HCRD comment, HCRD is not a team that just goes away.
Right.
You can never count out seeing an appearance by them, and they may have lost the war to Studio 86, but they're the kind of guys that they'll want to still get that last shot in. You saw how they won the championships. Tresnik makes his debut out of nowhere, unannounced, total surprise. Could we see a surprise?
Right.
I don't know, but I think, you give me money in Vegas and this is on there, and I might I'm going to throw my money on the dog on this one.
So that leads me into the exact question I was going to ask. Do you, we shared a lot of it at our page, Knockouts and 3 Counts Podcast. If you're watching us live, you already are following the page. If you're not, you need to be. We posted a lot of the promos that went back and forth between Blackwell and Gracefully Chosen. My question to you is, knowing Blackwell very well as well, do you think that the banter and the bullshit from Gracefully Chosen has gotten in Studio 86's head, much less Mike Blackwell?
I don't think it got in their head. I think it got their attention. And that might be the detriment of Gracefully Chosen. But without that, they don't get this match. This match doesn't happen if Gracefully Chosen doesn't know what they did. So it's a double-edged sword, a catch-22, if you will, on how that took place. They got Studio 86's attention, but had this match just been announced without any of that banter, that's where I would 100% throw all my money on Gracefully Chosen pulling off the upset here, because Studio 86 they would take them lightly. I know those guys. Great wrestlers, great performers. When the light's on, they're going to go, but they're also susceptible to getting a little bit ahead of themselves. But Blackwell's not going to let that happen. Martel's a traveled champion everywhere he's gone. Maserati Rick's a former champion everywhere he's gone. So these guys know what it takes to be champions. They know what it takes to win the big match. Which now I'm talking myself into leaning Studio 86's way. But I know that it's there. I know Blackwell's going to have them, ready. But when the bell rings, I hate to say it. I know Martel, and you can tell Martel, and you can tell Rick, you can tell both these guys 100 times. But when the bell rings, they're just going to see 2 young kids, and they're going to go out there. They're going to have fun. They're going to get in their element, and that's when they're going to be suspect to getting the upset alert that I'm predicting here.
So my next question for you is, when it comes to, this is completely for you. So you mentioned how you were in the ring for the Orlando Christopher Justin Main match. First of all, what was it like? What was it like for you being back in a ring in the zebra stripes? I know you've done it before.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you being in a high pressure situation like that? And what do you think? Do we see you ever reffing again, or do you think that was a one time, just for the circumstances?
Well, I mean, it was the night before I found out I was refereeing the match at the official press conference. I was getting text messages while we were, during it, and I don't know if it was the banter between Orlando Christopher and Justin Main, and I kind of said, hey, I got asked and said they want me to ref it, so yeah, I'll do it. It meant a lot to be asked to referee that match and to experience it firsthand and have the best, seat in the house for it. I just try to do the match justice and call it right down the middle, keep it clean, and then declare a winner. And I did that. If I'm called upon again, I'll don the stripes again. I have no problem doing that. Something I would do if asked, for sure.
So, with that being said, is there anything else other than the things that we mentioned that sticks out to you as something that if people are on the fence on whether they should get tickets and come to BCWA or not this weekend, is there any other things on the card that stick out to you?
Oh, yeah.
Like just stick out like, hey, this is something you need to check out.
Well,
if so, what is it?
There's 3 things actually that pop up in my head. The match no one's talking about, the sleeper match that has. I mean, we talk about 10 months of rivalry between H30 and Studio 86. One of the major catalysts to that is Nick Braxton and Michael T. Daniels, MD. These guys were tag team partners. They won the championships. Their rivalry, almost in a way, even though Nick Braxton officially joined Studio 86 until You Are the Father.
Tony Thunder, you have joined us. What's up, brother man?
That's me.
So we were just getting into the match between Nick Braxton and Daniels. So let me know what your thoughts are on that match, brother.
That match has so much history, man. That goes back to the No More Sorrow days when they were a tag team. They're, I don't want to be wrong, but maybe 4 or 5 time BCWA tag team champions. They were the best of friends. They have history. You know, they came a long way together, and to see them kind of split apart and to see Tucker Daniels, whatever he's going by now, turn on Nick Braxton, that was just, you know, it was kind of like a shocker to a lot of people if you knew their backstory and how well connected and how much chemistry they had as a tag team. So I think this may be the first time they're going against each other, but it's definitely going to be an interesting match.
That being said, I mean, if you check out in the archives, which you can check out at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, all those, we had them on when they were still No More Sorrow, you know, and when we interviewed them, I'll be honest with you, I didn't really see them, you know, splitting. They seemed tight-knit. Everything seemed cool. They were still going for the tag titles and all that. And then one day, click, here's the switch. Now you've got where we're at currently. That's a match that I definitely would agree with you. I think that one could be a sleeper just for the history that's involved in it, because you always fight harder when you got a reason to.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of story, backstory that's going to be fulfilled in that match, especially with them finally getting their hands on each other for the first time after the fallout.
Yeah, one-on-one the first time, and it's no disqualification. And you've got guys like Dr. Wrecking Ball, you got Shorty, you know, you Big Daddy Gaddy, you know, whatever, whoever's calling him whatever these days. But Braxton, Daniels, one-on-one, no DQ, the rivalry there, the bad blood. I mean, that's the match no one's talking about, but the match that I'm most excited to see because it's the culmination of a year-long rivalry.
So, Tony, we broke down a lot of the big matches. For you, what's the thing that you're most looking forward to this Saturday at BCWA Got Your Six?
Man, there's been a lot of matches gaining traction leading up to this event. You got Movado and the House of Truth and what's been going on with them. You saw at the last show, Gracefully Chosen kind of got the upper hand on Bumpin' Uglies, and Movado grabbed the microphone and told Truth to get out of the ring and said that those were his students, you know, coming from the House of Truth. And that story kind of is boiling to a point where maybe one day we may see Truth Martini himself back in action for the first time in a long time against Movado. You know, I like where that's going. The main event, of course, Justin Maine finally getting his hands back on the title, getting back into that main event spot, pun intended. And Frogun, man, he's been really gaining traction himself. So, man, this is a lot to look forward to at this event coming up.
Hey, Tony, so can you just corroborate with me that clearly Justin Maine listened to us when he came on the show? Because what did he do to beat Justin Maine?
Oh, man. What did Justin Maine do to beat Justin Maine? Well,
you know what I meant to say win the title. I misspoke. Justin Maine to beat Orlando Christopher. He kicked him in the dick. He listened.
That's your finishing move, Kyle.
Hey, bro. I mean, it's got to work somehow, and it's a tried and true method. Just ask Ric Flair.
And there was 2 other things I did want to bring up real quick. You said to look forward to. So we plugged Braxton and Daniels one-on-one, no DQ for the first time. The other thing, this Logan Open Challenge for the Alliance Championship. The Dread King is the Alliance Champion. He just battled 2 of the Death Threat Army Tommy Vendetta and Adam Wick.
Great match, too.
Oh.
The pile driver off the top rope, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, and now this is an open challenge. And with the way the Alliance Championship works is you could have 1, you could have 20, you could have 100 guys challenging for all at once because the belt is on the line. If Logan's wrestling, that belt is on the line in that match. And I think more details may come out here in the coming days, possibly day of the show. But that right there is worth the price of admission. You could come out, you don't know what you're going to get. He doesn't know who he's fighting. I don't know who he's fighting. I just know that some guys are going to walk through the curtain. They're going to get a crack at the Alliance Championship. And odds are, with the way that championship, you're going to see a new champion just based off of the history of that championship.
So you brung up something that
Tony, why don't you jump in there?
I mean, Tony, we've been telling you we need to get you a belt, bro. What the fuck?
Hey, man, Dark Star Logan is definitely a fighting champion. He's defended it time and time out. He's definitely one of those guys that you want to keep your eye on. Man, I don't really know how to explain him to the people who hasn't seen him before.
If you haven't, check him out in the archives. We've had him on a few times.
Absolutely. And if you haven't seen him and what he can do in the ring, you definitely don't want to miss this because as I didn't want to call you Dave, but as Legacy Mathew Priest just said, he's a fighting champion and you don't know who's going to come through that curtain. It could end up being where he may defend the title and somebody else may come through the curtain and he may have to defend it again. I mean, who knows? That's the kind of fighting champion he is.
So there's already been a challenge kind of quasi thrown out. You're talking about who you've got your eyes on. It looks like Chase Burnett's got his eyes on trying to get his belt back. I don't know. I'm just looking at the comments here.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Burnett, he had the ACL injury. He's been on the shelf. I'm not sure if he's been medically cleared yet, but hey, you could see a surprise return there. I don't know where he's at medically, but I know he's fighting to get back, and he wants his championship back. And I know, I believe Electric Ely has already thrown his name in that as a guy who's going to come out.
He's a bright up-and-comer, man.
I believe I saw promotional material from him where he was saying that he was going to accept the challenge, be one of however many guys accepted. So Ely's thrown his name in the hat, and we'll see.
Before we get off the Alliance title, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. Ken Cash tells us, first of all, Ken Cash, I'm going to get to you in 1 second. He's telling us that we need to make sure that nobody's sleeping on his match with Adam Wick.
Oh, absolutely.
We're definitely going to get into that in 2 seconds. Before I get off of the whole thing with Logan, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention there's also, after BCWA Cataclysm, the following week, there's a show, Wyandotte. I'm not sure on all the details. I will post them off the Knockouts and 3 Counts podcast page. They're doing a show in Wyandotte, Michigan. He's going to be, it's going to be helping to benefit the Dread Queen, Holly. It's a good show, good benefit show. It's got a lot of great guys on it. Logan obviously is going to be on it. DBA, I believe, is on it. There's a lot of local big names that are going to be on it, and it's for a good cause, man. And hopefully we're going to eventually get Logan and maybe the Dread Queen on here to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I'll be there in attendance myself.
I'll be there as
definitely, well. Unfortunately for Holly, she has been battling this illness, so hopefully we can get them some help and wish her a speedy recovery in this process as they battle through it. But yeah, take no light away. It's almost like that helps fuel Logan when he's in that ring.
Completely agree.
And whip some more ass.
So we're definitely going to post all the information for that. So, well, we're going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. Tony, why don't we give these guys a little bit of a surprise? So with that being said, we just talked about Ken Cash.
Yeah.
Ken Cash has got his match about Adam Wick. But before we talk about his match with Adam Wick, we need to let you know that Ken Cash will be our guest next week. We're going to be talking about his match that's going to happen this weekend at BCWA Got Your Six, but he's also going to be competing at UWF next weekend. So there's plenty to talk about with Ken Cash. We've had him on for a little bit when him and Alex Guy came on at one of the BCWA shows, but we've never really got to talk with him in depth. This is an interview that I think is going to be one that's going to be very interesting for the BCWA fans because I don't think that they know as much about Ken Cash as maybe Ken would like to have out there. So if you guys watch us, which we hope you do every week, Tuesday, 9 o'clock, make sure you're tuned in next week and check out our interview with Ken Cash. Tony, tell me a little bit about your thoughts with Ken Cash's match against Adam Wick this Saturday at Got Your Six.
Man, this is going to be nice. This is two guys who are really hungry. You know, Ken Cash took a little time off when BCWA closed his doors, and this is the hungriest I've seen him, even from back then. You know, he teamed up a lot with Tony Banks, who you guys have seen here and there with BCWA. But this is a different Ken Cash. You know, he's in the best shape of his life. He's traveling places, getting more experience. He's doing everything he can to be at the best of his game, and to see how far he's come along and to see how far he's pushed himself to become better is definitely something to watch out for. And as you mentioned, next week we'll have him on to talk about his match at BCWA and his upcoming match at United Wrestling Front against Lewis London and Jack Burbill. And he got a chance to be a champ there too. So he's definitely something that you want to watch, and definitely a guy you want to look out for.
Absolutely. I'll chime in on this match as well. I mean, Adam Wick, in a lot of ways, reminds me of a young Ken Cash. Ken Cash I first met, 2007, 2008, and he's been doing this a long time. And to your point, Tony, this is the hungriest I've ever seen him as well. He is in great shape. He is as determined and focused as ever. And I think a lot of that has to do with he feels like he hasn't been getting the opportunities that he deserves. He's been working just as hard, if not harder, than everybody else, and he's kind of been overlooked. He's had a lot of problems with tag team partners, and now it's just like, all right, getting himself in the singles rates, in the ranks, and getting himself focused on his opponent, which in this case is Adam Wick. Now, the reason I say Adam Wick, well, a lot of ways reminds me of young Ken Cash, is the old Ken Cash would come to the ring, he'd be dancing, be having a good time. Now, Adam Wick might not be dancing. Adam Wick is out there. He's always having fun. He's gyrating around. He's trying to get in his opponent's head. Similar to how Ken Cash used to use his dancing, Wick's trying to use it with different tactics. And he's very brash, very brazen, very almost disrespectful in a way to his opponent. And he uses that to his advantage. Both highly athletic guys, both a little unorthodox in what they can do. So it's a very exciting matchup for me because it's almost like a time machine match where you've got this new focused Ken Cash taking on a version of himself that some people might say Adam Wick is the future. And the kid will be. The kid's got a hell of a lot of talent. And that's what people said about Ken Cash, 10, 11 years ago. Is the kid's got a hell of a lot of talent. One day he's going to be, the top guy. And unfortunately for Ken Cash, he just kind of has had this string of bad luck. And now this is an opportunity for Ken Cash to prove himself that, hey, I can put all that behind me. I can beat this guy, Adam Wick, and now focus on my singles career and look to move up the ranks. And who knows, maybe at Cataclysm you're looking at Ken Cash in the main event, or you're looking at Adam Wick in the main event 12 months from now. It's very possible that this match dictates the future for either one of these guys. It's a huge match.
So, with that being said, before we get into our picks for UFC 246, the last guy that I need to...
back off of what Legacy said right quick, because he made a great point with a Ken Cash going against a mirror of kind of his younger self. Because if you look at that even a little more further to piggyback off what he said, the mind games that they both play to try to take each other's opponent out of their psyche is going to see really who has the upper hand in that match. I think it's all going to come down to who can get into their opponent's head better.
I mean, that's a very good point. As we talk about all the time, the mental game is just as important as the physical here. And if he has gotten in his head like that, I mean, it could be a rough night at the office. That being said, if you guys checked the video out that we put out after BCWA Cataclysm, we had interviews from, like we mentioned in the beginning of the show, with Caveman Elk, but we also had one with the 7 Mile Destroyer, Isaiah Broner. I'd love to hear both your guys' thoughts on Isaiah Broner and what you guys expect from him this Saturday.
I expect a quick matchup. I believe Mitch Hewitt has signed the contract. Mitch is tough as nails. He's proven, whether it's his performance in Battle for a Champion, him going one-on-one with Frogan. This guy is tough. He's hard to put away, but I think Broner, and especially being motivated by Charlie Brown, K Nasty is what I like to call him. I mean, I think it's going to be quick. I don't think you're going to get to see a lot of Isaiah Broner, but what you see is going to be impressive.
In other words, don't blink. Tony, what do you think?
Isaiah Broner's got the power of Requise. For those of you who aren't familiar with Requise, just Google it. He's a freak of a man who's kind of like a created god amongst UFC fighters. And
the created god amongst UFC fighters. Quite the combo there, sir.
Yeah, well, it's a YouTuber who does he's a video game streamer, and he created a character named Requise, and he looks very similar to Isaiah Broner. And if you've seen the way he knocks out his opponents, like him knocking out Justin Maine was mind blowing. We never seen Maine go down that quick. We never seen him destroyed like that. He's called the 7-Mile Destroyer for a reason. This guy is, picking guys apart. He's kicking ass and taking names. He's definitely a force to be reckoned with. And K Nasty kind of reminds me of a Don King behind his Mike Tyson.
Good reference.
And with Don King being in his corner, man, he's definitely something to look out for. Now, that's nothing to take away from Mitch himself, because Mitch can get the crowd behind him. He's a very likable guy. He's really good at getting the people behind him. He's good at feeding off that energy. I just don't think it's going to be enough to get past Isaiah Broner.
I feel like my sentiments are echoing both of what you guys said. I mean, to me, man, I think it's going to be 1-2, walk in, knock him down, F5, leave, and I think we're going to see another win for Isaiah Broner, because I'm just going to throw this out here. Now that we're not in the battle for a champion anymore, the whole coming out from under the ring thing I don't think is going to work on a guy like Isaiah Broner, and especially when you've got Charlie Brown on the outside here. I mean, I feel like Mitch Hewitt has bit himself off quite a lot to chew, and we're going to see come this Saturday if he can handle it.
He's crazy tough, but I mean those fans of Tyson back in the day, this is the match for you guys. You almost just start counting to see how long it goes. But if you're into knockouts and you're into 3 counts, you're going to get both. I think with Isaiah Broner.
I see. I like what you did there. Yeah. That being said, Priest, let them know where they can find their tickets and all that before we get off this and talk a little bit about UFC 246.
So again, Saturday, January the 18th, 2020, guys. First show of the decade. Go BCWA.com. Get your VIP tickets for a 5 p.m. entry. Get yourself a bonus VIP match. And they're always good matches. Sometimes we feature some up-and-coming talent. Sometimes we feature some veterans. You never know who you're going to get in that VIP match, but you're going to get a quality matchup there, and that's exclusive for the fans who buy the VIP tickets. And you get your earlier entry, you get your front row seat, you get some free swag. Definitely worth it right there. For those other fans that maybe want to make their decision last minute, get there 5:30. Doors will open. Get your concessions, get your snacks, get your seats, because at 6 o'clock the show starts. We're not one of those companies that starts at 6:05, 6:10, 6:15, 6:30. We start at 6 p.m. on the nose as advertised on the ticket, and you're going to get there, and you're going to get a nice 2.5 to 3 hour full ride of an experience. So January the 18th, Copeland Center, Wyandotte, Michigan. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful center. Make sure you're there Saturday night, 6 p.m.
So, Priest, before we get off BCWA, I'm going to need you to talk to the powers that be here, man. I need to see more of the homie Tony Thunder on the card here, man.
Hey, look, I'm going to say this for Legacy so he don't have to bury me. Tony Thunder been fucking up. See, Tony Thunder...
Damn it, I'm over here trying to help you out, and you just...
Hey, look, I appreciate that, man, but I know I know that I haven't been at the best in the top of my game, man. I've been working on that. I've been working on getting in better shape and getting at the top of my game. But they are working with guys who are really out there killing it. I mean, I'm doing the best that I can, and compared to a lot of BCWA talent, I'm just maybe not there yet. Maybe some people don't see me there yet. But when I do get that opportunity, I'm sure you'd be happy about it, Kyle.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to show some love to the co-host, but I respect the honesty.
Yeah, and Tony's a kid who I call him a kid. He's a grown-ass man now, but I've known him. He was just a damn kid wandering around Comerica Park, I think, when I met him. And he's a hard-working guy. He's driven. He has the passion there. But to his point, he's his own worst enemy at this point. If he gets his head on straight and he gets focused and he gets the shows on time, and he puts in that little bit extra effort, that's all we got to see. We know the effort's there. You just got to put it in at the right time, the right moment, seize an opportunity when it presents itself, and then show the world what you can do, Tony, because, I mean, you're still here, you're still fighting, and you've got talent. Now you just got to showcase what you can do. You always maximize your minutes.
Thank you.
With that being said, we've also got a huge fight this weekend. I don't know about you guys, but this is... I'll be honest, I've been an MMA and boxing fan probably since I was 12, 13 years old. And in the last few years, I mean, it's been hit or miss. I always love watching fights. I used to be able to go to a fight every weekend and go watch fights. But now, with so many fights and not quite the same caliber of talent that you always will see, sometimes it's a little hard for me to get invested. But if we're talking about getting invested and wanting to see a fight and something that I would actually pay my money to see, this weekend, UFC 246, that's it. We got the return of the Notorious Conor McGregor against Cowboy Donald Cerrone. This fight's got all the fireworks in the world written all over it. And for me, I feel like this fight is truly the question of what Conor are we going to see? Because Conor's been all over the news for his antics outside of the cage. You know, he's going back up to 170, which everybody knows isn't his natural weight class, and he's going against a guy who can make 170 cleanly, and on top of that, he can fight anywhere the fight goes. So I feel like this presents a hell of a problem for Conor McGregor coming off a layoff since his fight with Khabib.
I also kind of think this is a test of which Cowboy are we going to see as well.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Cowboy gets to the point where it's like he's rolling, he's killing it, and he gets that big match, and he loses. You know, we've seen it time and time again, and hopefully this is one that he can actually conquer and keep that steam going and keep that ball rolling.
Priest, what are your thoughts on this one?
So this is a fight where whatever the outcome isn't going to surprise me because it's hype like it's going to be the stand-up fight of the decade. Both guys known for highlight reel knockouts. Both guys known for, you know, having exciting fights. But we've seen this dozens of times where when you get these two premier high-level strikers in the ring,
they cancel each other.
One of them somehow, it comes down to a wrestling match, and the better grappler usually ends up winning. And I'm not sure Cerrone's still training with Jackson Winklejohn, or is he with Trevor Whitman? Who the hell is he with these days?
He's not technically with Jackson's, but a lot of those guys are coming over there to the BMF ranch because he's still got Scott Gibson with him.
Okay.
He's still got some of the same coaches, but I know he's not training directly at.
They're going to strategize to win. And I love Cowboy Cerrone, but his chin, you can only take so many shots.
Taking a lot of shots, man.
And McGregor's got the power to where if he hits him with a left hand and drops him, I'm not going to be surprised if it's a first round flash knockout. McGregor's walking around the cage.
Like Vince McMahon.
Like the star that he is. But I'm also not going to be surprised if Cerrone implements a wrestling game and tries to do more of what Khabib did and really slows the fight down. And you know, if there's a boring chant during this fight, it wouldn't shock me because I could see what we've seen 100 times with two elite strikers when people expect a stand-up war. It to turn into more of a grappling match and to lean Cerrone's way. But McGregor, you can't sleep on his wrestling either because he trained like a madman for Khabib, and instincts kick in at some point. And honestly, McGregor's a better, higher-level athlete than Cerrone. Cerrone's a harder worker, probably more fundamentally sound striker of the two. Betting man, I got to go with McGregor, even though this is probably the first time in my life I've ever picked McGregor to win a fight. I always pick against him for some reason, but this is the time that I'm just
You're trying to win some money. That's what you was trying to do.
I just feel like it's Cerrone's at the twilight of his career, unfortunately, and I think he's just one shot away from going out, and McGregor's the guy who could put him away.
Tony, what do you think?
Man, I want to see Cowboy win. I definitely want to see Cowboy win this one. But I think it's going to go with McGregor. I mean, he's got something to prove. If he loses 2 fights in a row, people aren't going to take him as seriously as that top celebrity type UFC guy.
And UFC needs him to win. I haven't watched any of their ESPN Plus cards.
Watch the countdown for this.
But I'm sure this is going to add ESPN Plus subscriptions. It's going to skyrocket because McGregor's a draw. He talks him into the seats. He's a star. And the UFC's stars are fading, and they need McGregor to win. McGregor needs to win, and ESPN needs McGregor to win. Not that Disney needs more money, but, I mean, hey, they're not going to be upset if McGregor wins.
So here's how I look at this fight. So the reason why this fight is so intriguing to me, there's a couple reasons. One, as you said, Conor got wiped out by Khabib.
Yeah.
Take all the antics out, take people jumping out of the cage. Khabib whooped his ass.
Oh, yeah.
In notes, I called that right as soon as the bus incident happened, that Khabib was going to beat his ass.
Oh, I think, it was evident before
that's the thing. People don't understand. That's why, I've heard Joe Rogan say it so many times in fights. To me, wrestling and having a good ground game sometimes is the best foundation you can have for an MMA fighter, because you can learn how to strike, but if you know how to take somebody down to the ground, not everybody knows how to fight on the ground. So for me, Khabib, man, I'll be honest with you, I really don't see anybody at 155 beating Khabib, period. I think Khabib is going to hold the belt until Khabib decides he wants to let go of it, or if there's some new young up-and-coming young buck who can take it off him.
It's very reminiscent of like watching GSP in his prime.
Agreed.
Where it's just like, it's going to be a fluke. It'll take like a Matt Serra-esque shot that just
all that
takes
did was
him out.
wake GSP up.
Right.
But for this fight, man, I think I'm going to go against what both of you guys said. I'm going to go with Cowboy, and here's why. As both of you mentioned, they're both great strikers. But the thing that is being overlooked by a lot of people, not only do you have the striker versus striker where somebody might take it to the ground, but a lot of people failed to remember Donald Cerrone has a great ground game and has finished many high-level people. Mind you, he's fought past guests of the show, Miles Jury.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody take it to Miles the way Donald Cerrone did. Miles could not get off. Miles could not do anything, and I've never seen anybody do that to him. So for me, I think Cerrone's going to win, and I think what ends up happening is I think there's no secret that Conor's going to have some ring rust that he's going to have to get off, because it's been a while since he's fought. But
Conor's going to make another excuse like he did when he lost to Khabib. If he loses.
If he loses there, I could definitely see an excuse coming and saying that it's because he caught him when he wasn't, and that Cerrone fights.
Because I drank 2 nights before the fight.
Well, this fight, when did this get announced? It seemed like it just kind of came out of nowhere to me.
Well, it'd been rumored for a while. They'd been talking about it for a minute, but it just never had got put together because of all the stuff with the suspension with Conor and all the stuff with Khabib. So I think that's probably what got in the way of it. That being said, man, like I said, this is a fight that I'm looking forward to, and it's looking like they're telling us it's time to go home. So before we get out of here, Tony, throw out your social media, let them know where they can find you, and hopefully we'll see your ass in the ring this Saturday at BCWA Got Your Six.
Yo, I'm Tony Thunder on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm Tony Thunder everywhere. I got Holly Holm, Maurice Green. I got Pettis hopefully winning. And, yeah, there it is.
Priest.
Mathew Priest, Instagram and the Twitter. It's just Matthew1T_Priest.
And that, last but not least, man, you can find me at Detroit Knockout, Detroit NOKOUT, Twitter and Instagram, Kyle Collison on Facebook. And make sure you're following the show, Knockouts and 3 Counts Podcast on Facebook. On YouTube, you can find us at Knockouts and 3 Counts. Stay tuned. Astronomicon's coming up. You've got people like Lita coming. You've got Alexa Bliss. You've got all these people coming. And as you guys know, if you've been with us for a little while, you know that's where we interviewed Booker T, Bruce Pritchard, Eric Bischoff. You never know what we could be bringing you there, and AEW is going to be in our neck of the woods real soon. And that means, what'd you say?
So take Legacy with you.
Yes. I mean, if you want to go, let's go, bro. But that being said, man, also, like I said, BCWA Got Your Six this Saturday, Copeland Center, Wyandotte, Michigan, and next weekend, Buffalo Wild Wings, downtown, next to the old Shillelagh, Detroit, Michigan. We're doing a party. We're linking up with the boys from Breaking Down the Ring. We're going to be giving away signed pictures and 8x10s from Allison Kay, the NWA champion. We've got NWA women's title pins to give away. We've got T-shirts. We've got autographs. We've got DVDs. We've got tickets. We've got all kinds of stuff. So you need to be there. It's a family-friendly event. We have the upstairs at not BCWA, good Lord. The upstairs at B-Dubs all calmed off for this. We've had good turnouts for our last few events, and we always have good turnouts for the Big Five. So if you're in the area, make sure you're there. Check us out. Shout out to Stransky & Company one more time. And that being said, peace.
Our intro music is More by Punch Deck.
Shout out to Punch Deck.